Hey guys, I hope you all are having a marvelous, fabulous, self-love filled week. I'm multitasking because I have a lot to do today, but I wanted to talk about this story that's kind of been all over the place. And it's about a Columbia professor named Carl Hurt who admitted to being a regular heroin user. And if you haven't seen the story, just Google Columbia professor, and I'm sure to be the first thing that pops up because it's been all over the place for about the past week now. And I don't want this to be a celebrity gossip blog type channel, but I do want us to talk about current events. And when I saw this story, it just reminded me of a life lesson I learned over a decade ago that I have to remind myself of every once in a while. So when I was 19, I started working at this plastic surgeon's office, a very prominent plastic surgeon in Manhattan. And I'm going to try to tell these stories without putting people's business out there too much. So bear with me. Anyways, so this is my first time working with people in a particular tax bracket. And of course, I had worked with people in different tax brackets before, but this was my first time working with them intimately enough to share some personal stories and experiences. In doing so, I learned that two of my coworkers were living very different lifestyles than I had been previously exposed to, and that they had, different vices. Like one was addicted to shopping, and I'm not talking about just fab, your little Amazon little packages that come to your door once a week. No, I'm talking about Gucci, Prada, Birkin, Saks Fifth, New York and Company had this personal cell phone number. And she would have large quantities of items delivered to the job so that she could hide it from her husband. Another one was addicted to wearing her makeup 24/7. She would only wash her face and take her makeup off when everyone in her house was either not there or asleep, and then she would immediately put it back on. But in talking about this stuff, we had an interesting conversation one day that stuck with me, and the older of the coworkers was just sharing how a lot of our parents and grandparents back in the 50s and the 60s were using a lot of vices to get through life, to balance life. So she talked about how a lot of women were very addicted to coffee, and that coffee back then was stronger, was more potent. So you would have women that was drinking caffeine and drinking coffee throughout the day, or their doctors were prescribing them stimulants. At that time, it wasn't uncommon for women to just get any prescription for any stimulant that they needed at any time, or they would be chain smokers. So we talked about how our generation of women tend to beat ourselves up trying to figure out, why is it that we can't be like grandma and them? Why is it that grandma and them was able to take care of all the kids, work, and keep a clean house and do this and do that? In addition to all the societal changes that's happened through time, we don't have access to, or wouldn't even want access to, a lot of the things that our grandparents or great-grandparents were doing at that time to make it appear as if they had energy for days, or could balance all the hats. And with that, a lot of things just weren't as they seemed. So we started a conversation about how people that they knew at that time were functional drug addicts. It would be your lawyers, your doctors, your judge, your senators, who always appeared to have it all together, but they were serious drug addicts. And I kind of opened my eyes a lot. Around the same time, maybe like a year into working there, I became acquainted, that's how I'm going to say it, with a few people that were a part of the hedge fund Wall Street circle. Now, these people, a lot of them came from a place of privilege. So their parents had the right connection to get them in, and, they had all the benefits that come with that privilege. But a good majority of them actually really and genuinely just worked their tail off. They worked their tail off, had all the social skills needed to kind of finesse their way into that circle. And that's what they did. But most of them, when I say most, I mean about 90% of them all had a common story. They all were at some point in some form of AA or drug treatment program or something. And they were very open about sharing their story. There was no shame in that. But for a lot of them, it almost seems as if the consequences that should have came from those past bad decisions missed them. There was no real consequences. They might have had a license suspended here or there. Parents may have gotten mad at them, but that was it. And for that reason, they were able to move on and do other things. So what I learned was, when I first started interacting with these people, I'd be looking at them in amazement. Oh my God, you woke up this morning and you ran 5K? And then you took a flight to London? And then you're coming back tonight for your best friend's birthday party? How are you doing all of this? And then I eventually learned that they had some help. They had things flowing through their system that made all of that possible. And not even just in that sense. This was my first time in my little naive 19, 20-year-old brain that I learned that people snorted Adderall. I know now, then I didn't know, I didn't know about that stuff. But these people that sometimes are all over your social media feed, they are, when you click on YouTube, those ads that tell you, oh, I'll teach you how to do real estate, and they're all high energy and just raw in your face. They have some vices that you probably don't want to partake in, and you probably shouldn't partake in. Now, I say all of this to say to not compare yourself to people. I know it's easy to do so, especially in this day and age with social media, because people put a 5-second synopsis of their life and you think that that's everything and that person has it all together. No, no. Remember a couple of years ago, there was this socialite and her husband that had gotten arrested because their baby had drugs in their system, and they kind of just got a slap on the wrist, and then everybody seemed to forget about the story. There are people like that in real life. The people that are the big real estate moguls, and then they're this and they're this in their community and they're doing that. Sometimes they have some vices helping them. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm no hater. There are genuinely and truly people who have figured it out. They have figured out how to do the balance. They have figured out how to wake up at 4 a.m. and, go for a jog and cook the healthy vegan breakfast and then get the kids together and balance it all. There are genuinely people out there like that. But there are also people that are using some aids that are not like that. They get all that energy from unnatural sources. And there are even people who have help. Like, I know so many people that behind the scenes, they got aunties, grandmamas, great-grandmamas, maids, house cleaners, nannies, or whatever, that are helping them to get through their day-to-day life. But on social media, you wouldn't know that. You would have no clue that they turn the camera around in their house and it's spotless. And it's only spotless because 2 minutes before the housekeeper just left. Stop comparing yourself to people. Live your best life. Do what works for you. Figure out what works for you. And stop constantly turning to other people to be gurus. Be your own guru. Figure out your own stuff. And I have to remind myself of this every once in a while, but especially after having my son, I was just in a place where I just felt so inadequate, especially with looking at other moms. I'm like, oh my God, this person got 3 kids. Oh my God, she just gave birth to twins and her hair's always done and her house is always clean and the kids are always so cute. Girl, no. Okay? They may have figured it out, but it didn't happen overnight, or they may have help. It's okay. Run your own race. Be in your own lane. Stop comparing yourself to people. There are thousands and thousands of functional drug addicts in the world. And I'm not here to condemn nobody. I'm not here to talk about nobody. If that works for them, that's between them, their bodies, and God. I'm not going to do it. And I'm telling you not to do it. But stop comparing yourself to people. That is all. Be blessed, and we'll talk soon.